whipped through the dense, gnarled trees of Blackwood Forest, a place so ancient that local folklore whispered of cursed spirits and dark rituals. Even in daylight, the towering oaks and looming pines seemed to close in, their twisted branches like skeletal arms reaching for the sky. It was here, in the heart of this forsaken land, that a group of 5 friends had decided to embark on a weekend camping trip, hoping to escape the pressures of their modern lives and enjoy a few days of peace. Their destination was the Blackwood Manor, an abandoned estate that had been left to rot for decades. No one in the nearby town of Hollow Pines ever spoke of it, save for hushed warnings and cryptic tales shared over late-night drinks. The manor had belonged to the Blackwood family, a wealthy and powerful lineage that mysteriously vanished one night over 50 years ago. Some claimed they were victims of a curse. Others believed they were involved in dark, unspeakable rituals. Alex, the de facto leader of the group, had heard about the Blackwood Manor through an old article he'd come across while researching haunted locations. A thrill-seeker by nature, he couldn't resist the idea of spending a few nights in a place with such a dark history. His friends, Sarah, Ethan, Claire, and Will, were more reluctant but eventually gave in to his persuasion. They all needed a break, and besides, the idea of exploring the unknown was exciting. As the group made their way deeper into the forest, their chatter faded, replaced by the eerie silence that surrounded them. The trees seemed to lean in closer, their branches hanging low as if trying to block their path. Sarah, a quiet and sensitive soul, couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. She glanced over her shoulder more than once, her heart racing at the slightest rustle in the underbrush. "You're too tense, Sarah," Alex said with a grin, noticing her unease. "It's just a forest. Nothing to be afraid of." "Easy for you to say," she muttered, adjusting the strap of her backpack. "This place gives me the creeps." "It's just your imagination," Ethan chimed in, his voice calm and steady. He had always been the rational one of the group, the one who approached everything with logic and reason. "We've been out here for hours, and nothing's happened." But as the sun began to sink lower in the sky, casting long, ominous shadows across the path, the air grew colder and the silence heavier. Even Ethan couldn't ignore the tension that seemed to build with every step they took. Claire, usually the most talkative, had grown unusually quiet, her eyes darting nervously between the towering trees. It wasn't long before they arrived at the edge of a clearing, where the Blackwood Manor stood in stark contrast to its overgrown surroundings. The house was massive, its once grand architecture now crumbling with age. Ivy crept up the stone walls, and the windows were either shattered or boarded up. A sense of abandonment and decay hung over the place, yet it also exuded a strange magnetic pull, as if daring them to enter. "Wow," Will said, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's even creepier than I imagined." "Perfect," Alex replied, flashing a mischievous grin. "Let's set up camp and then check it out." The group quickly set to work pitching their tents at the edge of the clearing, just a short distance from the manor's looming facade. As they worked, a feeling of unease settled over them, though none of them dared to speak it aloud. The forest was unervingly quiet, save for the occasional creak of a tree or the rustle of leaves in the wind. After the tents were up and a small fire was lit, Alex stood up, rubbing his hands together in anticipation. "All right, who's ready to explore the house?" "I'm not sure this is a good idea," Sarah said, her voice tight with worry. "Something about this place feels off." Alex waved her concerns away with a laugh. "Come on, it's just an old house. Besides, we didn't come all this way just to sit around a campfire." Reluctantly, the others agreed, and the group made their way toward the manor's entrance. The massive double doors, once grand and imposing, were now weathered and cracked, barely hanging on their hinges. Alex gave one a shove, and it creaked open with a groan that echoed through the empty halls beyond. The air inside was musty and stale, thick with the scent of decay and neglect. Dust covered every surface, and cobwebs hung from the ceiling like gossamer threads. The interior was a maze of dark hallways and grand, decaying rooms, each more foreboding than the last. As they moved deeper into the house, the sense of being watched grew stronger, and the oppressive silence became unbearable. "This place is seriously creepy," Claire whispered, her voice trembling. "Can we just look around for a bit and then head back?" "Sure, sure," Alex replied absent-mindedly, already focused on the next room. "Just a quick look." But as they entered what appeared to be the main living room, something changed. The air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to deepen, as if the house itself were alive, watching their every move. A heavy, unnatural silence fell over the group, and they all felt it, the unmistakable sensation of being hunted. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from somewhere deeper in the house, followed by the sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, and coming closer. The group froze, their hearts pounding in unison. Alex was the first to move, his bravado melting away as fear crept into his eyes. "Maybe we should get out of here," he whispered, his voice barely audible. But it was too late. The doors slammed shut behind them with a deafening bang, and the temperature dropped to an icy chill. The shadows seemed to ripple and shift, and then, from the darkness, a voice, low, guttural, and filled with malice, whispered, "Welcome home."